All right, what's going on, everybody? We're back for this week's Zoned In with Home First with your host and co-host, or host and host, because he's not really my co-host. Whatever, doesn't matter. Your two hosts are coming to you today for another episode of Zoned In. I know you have missed us. It's been a few weeks, and we're excited to relaunch today with a very exciting guest and unpack one of my favorite books, The Ultimate Sales Machine. Talk about some sales concepts that have been a theme of our business and our life over the last couple months. What is going on, Ryan Plaza?
What's going on, Zach Blez? I feel great. It's midweek. We just actually taught a class yesterday in Bobby's office, so it's cool because this is right on time with what we're doing. But yeah, nonetheless, man, I'm excited to be back in action here with our zoned in support and crew. So let's get it going, man. How are you doing? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. You told me I got to bring the energy. I was rocking a fever just an hour or two ago. I had to man up for you, Ryan. I couldn't leave you hanging. I had to go take a shower, put some gel in my hair, and get going, man. But I'm feeling okay, man. I'm feeling okay. That it's going through my house, a virus, but we're doing okay. Everybody's doing okay, and that's what's important, man. So let's go.
Hold on, real quick. Sorry to interrupt you. First of all, this isn't a testament to Zach's resilience. He's just always ready to go and just always pushing forward. He literally called me this morning with a fever. But not only that, it was your birthday yesterday. So happy belated birthday to yourself, big guy. You're a gift to the universe.
Thank you, my friend.
So now we can jive there. I would sing you happy birthday, but I might crack the screen or something, so I'm not gonna do that.
Stick to mortgages.
Right. I do better at video.
Well, I'm very excited for this guest, Bobby Davidowitz. This gentleman, we've been working together for a long time. I know he was actually featured on your podcast some time back, and he runs a massive organization along with his partner, Gil Ramos, called the Alliance Group at eXp Realty. He's a real estate investor, commercial broker. He runs another company called the Dead Agent Society. And I've been watching Bobby very closely for these last few years and seeing his moves and seeing how he, thanks Ben, seeing how he coaches his agents and mentors people around him. And after reading this book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, I realized that many of these concepts are kind of a part of the chemical, part of Bobby's DNA, right? He does a lot of these things. It's funny because he was reading the book, right? And he was like, man, some of this stuff, is kind of dry. I'm calling him out for a reason, and it's actually a good reason, is because a lot of the stuff he already does in his business every day, and that's a lot about personal development in that journey of Ryan, what are you doing, man? You messing with tech flow. Is because some things for some people are just second nature. So personal development comes in so many different forms. Sometimes personal development and reading books is to learn new things. Sometimes it's to reemphasize the things that you're already doing. Like when I was at UCF going to school for marketing, some of the teachers, classes were kind of like dry, and I was like, oh, this doesn't really mean much for me. But when I was in the real life world, I started being able to go back to some of those things and realize that this information was going into certain buckets and it did make sense. So I was just cracking a little joke on Bobby about that, but it just is a testament to that. A lot of these high level principles he's running in his organization every day. So let's bring Bobby on and talk to him a little bit.
Definitely. And while we get in there, man,
how are you guys doing?
Doing awesome. How are you doing today?
Oh man, fantastic, man. Coming to you from my sauna. I like to keep the heat up. So no, I'm just kidding, man. Zach was messing with me because he said it looked like I was in a sauna. I'm like, this is actually a corner of my house here that is the old school 1940s wood paneling. And I'm in the process of moving out, so there's nothing on the shelves and stuff. So not in the sauna, but we're gonna turn up the heat today a little bit.
Hell yeah, we are. So Ryan is frozen. He's just staring at us because he's just so intrigued with what you're saying right now.
He really loves what I'm saying. He must have loved that sauna thing, man. Look at him.
Ryan, we couldn't agree more. Hopefully, I don't even know if he knows he's frozen, but
that's all right. We'll keep it moving.
He'll come back on. So anyways, man, let's go ahead and jump right into, some things. And, you know, one of the first things that they unpack in this book is a concept called focus, right? And it's so important for entrepreneurs to have focus because so many people get distracted so easily. It's like the miner, the picture of the miner where he's mining to get to the diamonds and he stops right before it because he just gives up. And it's so hard for people to remain focused in what they're doing. You know, how are you and Gil staying focused in this mission of building this massive organization? And what are you finding works best for you guys right now?
Well, it's a great, you know, everybody, first of all, you know, success and principles of success kind of run through a lot of books and everything that we listen to, from Tony Robbins to what we do. And, you know, nothing that we're going to say is revolutionary, but sometimes we just say it in a different way. You know, dabbling never gets it done. And it's something that I did early in my career, where I dabbled in a lot of things. I dabbled in the mortgage business. I even dabbled in real estate at one point. I dabbled in, you know, making reality shows. I dabbled in making music. And so the thing is that dabbling never works. It just never has worked, right? In order for you to ever be like uber successful in any one thing, there has to be that intense focus. And like I said, people say it all different ways. You know, you got Grant Cardone, be obsessed or be average, right? So, you know, I think that the trick to getting the focus is to have clarity, you know, because clarity is power. You know, whenever I feel like I don't know what the end game is, or I don't know the road to get there, or I don't know which way I should go, then I'm kind of in a state of flux and I never dedicate all my full power to it. But once you kind of set your goals and do those different things, and you find the thing that really you got to find the mindset, because before, you know, it's like all of us want to be really successful, but we don't know exactly how to get there. The one thing that I did, about 7 years ago was say, hey, I can't dabble in things anymore. And I chose real estate not as who I am, but as the vehicle to get me the things that I wanted. And when I looked at it as a vehicle rather than who I was, it didn't affect me so much, because, you know, we all want to be original. We all want to do our own thing. And I was like, well, I just don't want to be a regular realtor. And I'm like, I just think that's the wrong framework. The reality is that the real estate industry is a wealth building industry. And I knew that if I got in and I just committed to it, then I would be able to reach my goals. Now, I didn't know exactly at that time that how exactly I was going to do it. Of course, I was going to get into real estate and do transactions. I wanted to get into commercial real estate. I wanted to do all those things. But as far as saying, okay, here's my clear path from zero to wealth or independent wealth, I didn't quite have it. But I started swimming in the stream, because I feel like, you know, there's been so many times in our life, Zach, and you can chime in, where I felt like I missed the wave, right? Like I missed the .com wave, you know, like I missed, you know, when I wasn't prepared when the market crashed in 2008 to clean up and make all the money that so many people made, because I wasn't swimming, you know, I wasn't paddling my board in that direction, right? So by the time you see a wave, if you're not paddling already, you missed it, right? And so the good thing I did 7 years ago was say, hey, look, I'm going to commit no matter what to real estate, no matter where this way, you know, where this ocean takes me, I'm going to stay in this real estate game. And then this wave called EXP came. And so when that wave came, and me and Gil, you know, researched that for 6 months and said, wow, you know, I've just never seen a structure like this in real estate. And it gave me the clarity. Now I see the through line to how you actually create wealth in the industry rather than being transactional. So that excites me and keeps me super motivated to do what Gil and I do.
Let's talk about the wave, actually. And you mentioned Grant Cardone, and two kind of pings went off in my head was delaying gratification. And as somebody who might be watching this, who wants to position themselves for the right opportunity, and right now, it's like, it's crazy because you've got two ends of the spectrum in our economy right now. You know, I was seeing something, I was looking at like some of the stock market and how it was doing. And there was an article that says like, is the economy great, but for who, you know? And it's like, you know, there are so many opportunities in so many different economies for people to create wealth and really just catapult themselves to the next level. So to position yourself, like you were saying, it's like, you know, you were touching on so many different things, but you gotta position yourself and delay gratification. When you're in the beginning of your business, it's so important to create a foundation for yourself. Like before the first piece of real estate that I invested in purchase, I said I needed to hit a goal, and I was making great money. I could have taken that money and bought a new car, bought a new house, done a bunch of stuff with it. It's so important to delay gratification. So when those times come, you actually are in a position to be able to do something. So there's a lot of real estate agents watching this. And I want to say this because it's important that they know this, is that there's a lot of real estate agents or mortgage professionals that are jumping into the business right now, having a lot of success. Oh, I'm making $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. Heck, when I got in the mortgage business, March 15th of 2007, man, made 17 grand as a 20-year-old kid. It was not about how much I could save at that time. It was about how much I could spend. And if I realized right now what I know now, I would have said, I'm going to sock away every single thing, because I'm going to be able to buy all the things I've ever wanted and more. So how many people are sitting on the sidelines now and saying, man, I wish I just saved a little bit more. Man, I just wish I delayed gratification so that I could buy that property now. But look, you know, I just bought a new primary residence, and I'm like, when I saw you post that thing on Facebook about that triplex this morning, I was like, man, if I just didn't buy this primary, or man, if I just didn't buy this, or man, if I just didn't do that. And I started putting all the numbers together. I said, okay, if I could sell this, the down payment on this $350,000 house is 25%. Okay, that's like 90 grand. He said it needs 110,000 in rehab. I can move this around and do this. You know, you have to be positioned to be able to do those things. So again, the message is delay gratification, because opportunities are going to come. The wealthy people grow because they capitalize on other opportunities when others cannot.
Yeah, and you know, it comes back to clarity. You know, what is your outcome? What is your goal? Because what happens is sometimes, and by the way, we've all done this wrong, right? So if you've done this before, and don't feel bad, like I've done all the wrong things, you know, and if I come to you from anything, it's just coming to you from the future, coming back and saying, hey, look, I tried it that way, you know. And so here's the deal, you know, when you have your end goal in mind, if your end goal is wealth, then your short-term actions should be dictated by a long-term game, right? Because what happens is sometimes we don't know the stories that we have in our mind. And this is it. This is what it comes down to. You know, I'm a big Tony Robbins guy, but really it's this simple. If you're looking, there's certain needs we all have. And if you're looking for significance, if significance is of high value to you, and by significance means you need credit, you need attention, you need to feel admired, all these different things, and that's your driving force, that'll get you in a lot of trouble, because you'll do things for the show. You're not doing things for the long term. So you'll spend money on those things because it gives you kind of a hit. It's like a drug. You'll get some attention, and what people are really searching for, and it sounds mushy, but trust me, I've been to a million Tony Robbins seminars, but what most people are looking is to be loved. Right? To be accepted and loved. And they want some kind of connection from people, and they don't know how to get it. So they think, well, if I get enough attention, if I get enough things, if I get enough nice things to attract people, and you know, you do get a little hit, right? If you put something cool on Instagram, if you show somebody that you got this, you know, you get a little hit of that dopamine, right? You get a little drug hit, but guess what? It never quite satisfies you. So once you kind of say, hey, look, that's not my end goal. My end goal is really to build wealth, to be independently wealthy, so that I can have the freedom to do whatever I want. So I can have as many cars and watches as I want, and I never have to worry if it's actually, you know, going to keep me from making that triplex investment. Once you have that clear goal, then you make a different decision, and you say, hey, you know,
hey man, keep my watches out of this, all right?
Yeah, I seen your freaking watches, man. Don't even start. I don't know. Yeah, I seen you doing this on the instant. Nah, but that's what the reality is, and that's delayed gratification. But you've earned your way to get that watch, and that's what's important. Is, you know, getting nice things is not a bad thing, but you have to become a different person in order to get those things. It's not you do it too early, like you said, Zach, and you could put yourself in a hole and delay what you actually want, which is to be free, right? To be financially free.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So focus. And then we talk about, I've heard you talk about in some of your coaching, Bree. Yeah, she knows it's an obsession. We talk about, I've heard you talk about some of your coaching, repetition, and focus and repetition come hand in hand with each other. You know, repetition is a lot like the slight edge, doing the same thing over and or doing it over and over again to, you know, like the little things over and over to achieve a result. So talk to me about repetition and how you made that a part of your success.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about repetition is it ain't sexy, and it doesn't get people excited, because it's just like you said, it's doing the same thing over and over and over again. But And at the end of the day, I always try to look for what's the simplest thing. Because if I'm coaching agents all day long, what I realize is, the more you overcomplicate things, the less that somebody's going to do, right? The confused mind always says no. So if I'm always like, how do I simplify this? What's the thing that's keeping them from doing the things necessary to be successful? Because knowledge is out there, right? So the first thing is always, hey, if we're giving somebody the instruction to plan, and you coach, mortgage brokers as well, and you say to yourself, why aren't they doing these things that I'm telling them to do when I've shown and proven the results and the success that come from doing those things? And you might say to yourself, oh, they're not doing that because they're lazy or they don't have it. And after 4 years of coaching agents, I'm like, that has nothing to do with it. It comes back to the Tony, right? It comes back to the fact that if you don't believe you deserve it, if you don't believe you're worth it, if you don't believe you have what it takes to make it in real estate, you're not going to do any action because you're beating yourself up mentally so much that you're putting so much fear into your heart about what people will think if you try something and fail it. So that's step one, Zach. You got to get that story right. And then once you say, hey, look, you know what? I got what it takes. There's not difference between me and Zach. Zach is just a few chapters ahead. So I'm not sizing myself up against Zach. Zach just did repetitions, right? So then it gets down to, all I really need to do is do the reps, right? Whether it's make more calls or go more appointments or call more FSBOs or do more open houses. And into the mindset of, hey, man, this is simply just like working out. Success in real estate or anything you do is working out. You can't go to the gym one day, pump out a great workout, and expect great results. That's not how working out works. You have to be consistent, and you're going to keep doing those reps and doing those reps. And maybe a few weeks in, you're going to start seeing a little ridge come in there, right, Ryan? You're going to see that little ridge come in, and then that day, there you go. He's looking swole, and then that girl's going to walk past you and be like, "Hey, Ryan, have you been working out?" And then you're going to be like, and you're like, you know what? I have been working out. I've been doing some repetitions, and then you're going to get even more motivated because you're like, okay, now I'm starting to see where this goes, and then now you're 30 day in, maybe an ab pops in. And somebody's like, man, you're looking kind of lean, bro. Like, what's going on? And then you're like, yeah, man, I've been doing the reps. So at the end of the day, Zach, it'll come simply down to this. I don't know what happened at some point in our teenage years or something where we all decided as adults that we're going to be perfect at things we've never done. And we hold ourselves at a standard of perfection. And when we're not perfect at something we've never done, we just beat ourselves down so freaking much that we don't move forward. And so we have to get rid of that and understand, hey, look, if you're coming into the game, any game, whether you're a loan officer in real estate and you have never done this before, your expectation can't be perfection. Matter of fact, that's a low standard because it doesn't exist. Your expectation to be, what do I got to lift? What repetitions do I have to do in order to stack my experience and momentum so that I get to the next level? Look, your 100th call is going to be 100 times easier than your first call. Why? Because you stack the reps, right? There's no way to learn unless you're in the game. Zach, you can make me read that Ultimate Sales Machine book, but it ain't the same as the game.
Yeah.
You got to get in the game to really learn the game. And that's it. That's what it comes down to.
I love that. So I'm gonna ask you some questions, Bobby D. How you doing? I think my internet's back in action.
Very excited to see you back, man.
Yeah, we're here. So Bobby, man, a lot of agents, right? You guys attract a lot of new agents, right? We just worked with like 50 new agents yesterday from your team.
Crazy.
People are looking at, it's crazy. Like, it's just growing every time I'm in that room. So, people, a lot of like right now we're looking at the industry and like, all right, it's a hot market, right? And with the hot market, it's kind of monkey see, monkey do. Like, I want to do that too, right? There's money in it. I want to jump into the game. But you talk a lot about long playing the long game and playing the short game, right? Like, why is it important to play the long game, and what advice do you have for these new agents?
Yeah, so look, we're attracting a lot of new agents, but also we attract all of it, and it comes down to the things that we believe in, right? And the long game really is this. I don't think as a traditional agent, you're going to be able to survive long term. If all you're looking is to get in here, you saw that real estate was cool and you want to kind of dabble in it, maybe do a few deals. Because here's the deal. At some point, cycles will change, markets will change, and it ain't going to be as easy as it is in Orlando to do real estate. Okay. So it's going to filter out. There's going to be the grand filter out, right? And I saw it happen in 2008 when the market tanked, right? Everybody left the business. I even left it. Even though I wasn't dabbling, I just left it because I was like, oh man, this is my opportunity to go do something else, right? So here's the deal. If your mindset is short term, then you just want to be an agent. You want to be transactional. But I think deep down, we all have the same goal. And everybody on this call, everybody listening out there, and it's to live life on our own terms, right? And that means that you get to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with the people who you want to do it with, and help who you want to help, right? And I don't know another way to do that besides financial freedom. Like, I don't know another way in our society or in our world to do that without basically building wealth, without building machines that have your money making money, right? We talked about the triplex. Well, if you buy a triplex and start to make you money, that's something else besides you working that's making you money, building that passive income. So when I talk to these agents, the reason we're growing so fast is because we've taken these principles and this personal development that we believe in, and we've stacked it on top of the EXP model. The EXP model can be reached through anyone, any place. I mean, anybody can plug into EXP. What we've done as the Alliance Group is say, hey guys, we want to get you into the right mentality, mindset, because we're looking for real estate entrepreneurs, not agents. And if you're thinking like a real estate entrepreneur, Ryan, then you have to think long game. You got to think in 10-year terms. You got to say, hey, what am I doing today that is going to put me in a position 10 years from now to be financially free? And so if you don't think like that, what happens is you kind of you get into that dabble game that Zach talked about. You lose focus because you're trying a little thing here for a couple months, a little thing here for a couple months, or you think that maybe a year is a long time. I used to think, I forget how old you are, Ryan, but in my 20s, if you told me I had to do something for a year, I'd be like, a year? Now, a year is like, oh, a year just went by. Like that. So long game is simply about getting the work, right? If I tell you, hey man, stop expecting to work out one day and get fit. It's going to take you 10 years to get fit. Okay. So rather than worry about what's happening next week or next month, what I need you to do is get to work and do the reps, right? Just do the workout. Stop worrying about when it's going to happen. It will definitely happen if you stay on track. And that's what I mean by thinking long game. If you're thinking short game, then you're like, you'll go to any brokerage and you're just like, I'll do a transaction here, transaction there, or maybe even do a lot of transactions, but not build wealth. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, for really experienced agents and really high producing agents, the EXP model right now would have made them massive wealth. If you were an agent, a top producing agent, what they call an icon in our model, you would have been getting $16,000 worth of free stock in the company. Let's say you've been doing over 30 deals a year for the last 5 years. Let's say you're a top producing agent. You would have been getting $16,000 worth of free stock in EXP for the last 5 years. Do you know what the stock did in the past 4 months? It freaking quadrupled. So you know, I don't even want to talk. Not, you know, like Veronica Figueroa got me jealous right now because she started posting that stuff the other day. But here's the deal: that's how you build wealth. You invest and then you allow things to build over time, right? It's compounding interest, and that's the long game, right? That's why the wealthy get wealthy, because they understand the power of time and compounding, right? But this shit doesn't happen overnight. So if you expect it to, you're always going to be disappointed. Like if you're not in for a 10-year workout, the wealth thing isn't for you.
I love that. That's good. That's drop the gem alert on that one. So in the book, Bobby, they talk a lot about, you know, offering trainings to your teams and seminars, like as an important pillar of success and being the ultimate sales machine. That's one of the things that I'm most impressed about you and Gil's organization, right? I've worked with tons of brokerages before Home First and now, and like you guys really, not only do you pour a lot in personally, but you're always making your partners step up and really bring great classes. Like even yesterday I laughed, Marissa, I'm saying her name, Marissa, she pulls me to the side and she's like, I need an incredible class out of you. And I'm like, do you expect anything less? And she's like, no, but I need amazing. So it's like, that's what you guys are instilling on everybody that's even teaching the class. So when did you realize that that is an importance to your organization? Like how early on did you realize that that's an importance to the organization? And why is it? Like, why do you feel it's so important to pour into your team?
Well, you know, Gil Ramos has a lot to do with the culture and attitude. Remember, you know, Gil was the #1 exit realty broker in the state. He had a big office there in downtown. And one of the things that attracted me to his organization was the way that he believed in development, right? Like he actually enjoyed developing people, right? So, you know, here's the deal, you know, it's great to get experienced folks, but, you know, they say, you know, up to 90% of the deals that are going to be done in the next 5 years are from people who haven't even gotten their license yet. So for you to ignore the fact that you got to start somewhere, to us was, you know, low-hanging fruit. Like, oh, well, we believe in helping and developing people. So it definitely started there. Now, when it comes to building wealth again, and especially in the EXP model, our mentor, Jay Kinder, says something that I love. He said, if it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter, right? And what that really means is, it's like, dude, you can have all the magic you want, Ryan. Like, you can be a magical real estate agent, but if you can't put that into a system and help somebody else get to that same level, then your business is solely dependent on you, okay? And if you're solely dependent on you, then you are not a business owner, you're a business operator. And you will always be an operator, right? You're self-employed rather than being a business owner, right? And from reading all the books that you guys have read and all this stuff, pounding it into our head with Rich Dad, Poor Dad and all this stuff over the years, now it's starting to be really quite clear to us that this doesn't work unless we create leaders. And if we can't create leaders who then will also create other leaders, then we're dead in the water. Then we're back into the regular real estate model, the regular one-level model where you've got brokers out there recruiting all day long and hoping that that their agents don't leave them, you know? And the reality is if you never took time to develop those people into leaders and then obviously give them the opportunity to essentially build their own brokerage and organization under them like we have with our model, then of course you're going to have a revolving door in your brokerage. You could be the best recruiter of all time, but if you're not there to develop people and create leaders, then you're just going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again. So that's when we tapped into our upline and our mentorship, and they started saying things like, if it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter. And we started taking a real responsibility to say, hey, we got to empower people like, you know, Jennifer Encarnacion in our office. We got to empower people like Brittany Pride and Josh Pride. We got to empower people like the Power Team with, you know, Dan Rojas, Sean Romano, Andrew Brooks, because those guys are the future, and the people in their organizations are going to be the future. And so, you know, that's the way you have to be thinking, because if not, you're just always going to be an operator in your business.
That's great, man. A lot of unpacking. You unpacked a lot of gems there. That was awesome. You know, in the book, it talks about honing in on your selling style, right? And like understanding and identifying your selling style. What would you say your selling style is? And on top of that, how did you discover that, right? Because I feel like a lot of newer agents, they're, you know, going to these seminars and going to these things, and they're like trying to figure out, you know, well, how do I sell? Am I pushy? Am I edgy? Am I relationship building? Like, you know, they're kind of, and then you see all these other people like, oh, that style, but like, how do you build your own unique style while understanding what works for other people?
It's actually really simple. And what I think what's happened is that the evolution of sales has changed a lot since back in the day, right? Like I make fun of Gil. I'm like, dude, you were back in like the Jazzercise days, man. You're like 80s, you know, and so I mess with him because he's a little bit older than me. But back in those days, you know, your forcefulness, pushiness, you know, that kind of sale tactic to get somebody to do something without building a relationship was okay, because there wasn't really as much mass market media and as much information and as many resources for the public. Now you can't do that, right? You literally have to add some kind of value first, right? You guys don't get paid to be on this show, right? What this show is a value add, because you want people to say, hey, look, man, Zach and Ryan are willing to give us value without us giving him anything, right? And that's how you build a relationship up front. So number one is you want to make the most money, you got to add the most value, and you got to be willing to give first and have faith in that process. As far as my style is concerned, you know, at the end of the day, once I get agents into the mindset that, you know, people are your lifeblood, right? Your product isn't real estate, your product is people. Right. And in order for you to get more relationships with people, you just have to care about them. Right. And the way you do that is just simply ask them about them, you know, and get to know them before you jump in to whatever it is you're trying to pitch. So I just did a boot camp last week, and I pounded this home. This is my magic trick, and then you guys can steal this. It's so revolutionary, right? When I sit down with a prospective client or a prospective agent or anything like that, this is what I do. Tell me about yourself. Tell me your story. I want to hear everything, and then I shut up. That's my style. My style is, hey, I can't talk to a person if I don't know them first, right? So we talk about their story, and I listen to the things that they say. And then as they say, I'm curious, and I'm genuinely curious. This is not a tactic. Like, I understand that, we're already friends on this call, but like, the more I sit down with you, Ryan, the more we talk about your story, the deeper our bond is built, right? The more it increases our chances of doing business together, the more it increases our chances of, building some wealth together and take some vacations together in the future, right? And it's the same way. So that's my selling styles. Number one is I got to get to know who they are. I want to ask them a ton of questions and know when the time is for certain things, right? And this is probably a huge nugget. And you can chime in here too, Ryan, because I can see you kind of nodding your head.
Yeah, it's funny. There's so many things that you hit on this and then you're actually leading into my next question. So like one, I was talking to Mike Collier at the event last weekend, and Zach was asking me, afterwards, how did it go? And I'm like, one of my standouts was sitting down with Mike, and we really got to understand each other's story, right? And I think that that's so key. Once we got to understand each other's story, like with Mike, it was like, he'd been the Disney route. This is what he sold. This is how long he did it. Why did he get out of it? What made him transition to real estate? We walked away there with such a deeper understanding and like wanting to do business with each other because of knowing each other's personal story. And like, that's something I love that you say that. Like, that's what I always focus on. Like sometimes, Zach, I'll pick out Zach. Like we have different styles. Like sometimes he'll go for the kill and I'm building the relationship, right? And that's why we have a good dynamic when we're working together because it flows. So I think that one side, when you build that, it's easier. So going into my next question is, a lot of agents, they jump the gun, and you kind of alluded to this, and it's like when to ask and when to position what. But a lot of agents jump the gun without building rapport. How do you go about building rapport?
Zach, are you talking to us? Because you're on mute.
Yeah. No, I was just going to jump in real quick before we respond. It's like what you guys said is so important because rapport building all around in sales, like every time we teach a class, we teach a class called the Conversion Blueprint. And like clockwork, every single time we ask somebody to role play about talking to a client for the first time and selling, is they immediately go into bedroom, bathroom count, all these random things. And they never on the first phone call say, hey, I'm responding to your inquiry about 123 Smith Street. Why do you want to buy? Just these stupid little questions. And now I'm like knocking myself because I remember you telling me this, Bobby. I was talking to you or Gil at one point. And I'm like, I really want to go on a recruiting, a big push on recruiting some new people into the organization. Asking those questions up front is so important because we tend to oversell ourselves on all these things instead. And this is just in life and sales period. Instead of just saying like, what is it that you're looking for? And then we format our responses based on that because we have all the information, like with loans, you've got interest rate driven, you've got down payment driven, you've got closing cost driven people. When we lean in with talking about rate, assuming that person cares about their interest rate and don't identify that they just need as little money out of pocket as possible, we're almost setting ourselves up for failure. So that was a huge nugget. And I can tell you from real life examples, it works when you just slow down, delay gratification, right? Like we've been talking about, and just ask more questions.
And I think it's worth being said that there is a time to close, right? There is a time, right? So it's not like, because some people, what they have is they're actually good at the rapport, but they can't transition from rapport to a transaction or a rapport to a deal. So there is a time for it, but you have to know when the time is, right? And you first have to build that relationship. So there's definitely a time for that. But we teach something, with our group is 3 steps. First, you got to connect, which is just the action of actually the initial contact with somebody. Like, if you're, we always say, don't be a secret agent. If you're sitting at home and you're not connecting with anybody, you don't have to see how the rest of the story is gonna play out. Because if I told you people are your product and you're not talking to people, that's a problem, right? But the hard part really is the cultivation part. So we teach connect, cultivate, and then close, right? You earn your right to close, right? And through the connection and the cultivation. The cultivation is that part of learning the story, of giving people some value and things like that. You know, some agents will say, well, you know, buyers are liars. No, you just probably haven't asked enough questions, because I can tell you right now, I went on a listing appointment with a newer agent yesterday, and it was funny, like the things that the seller said were important to him. By the end, I realized like, that's not even like a thing anymore. Like now I'm realizing what's really important to them, you know, because they'll give you some nuggets. Like, you know, I mean, like this guy was hilarious. She's like, I need a place that picks up my trash every day. Like, I'm like, okay, you know, and that was cool. Like, I was like, okay, and you might frame your whole, you know, search upon like these communities that have an HOA. But then when I realized this, no, actually his dogs are really important. Like, he loves his dogs, his German Shepherds that almost bit my leg off. He wants to have space for them to run around, and he doesn't want to be close to the neighbors, right? He wants to be in a place, and, you know, right now he's in a short-term rental neighborhood, which is probably not the best place for a primary residence. So, you know, so once I kind of dug a little bit deeper, got to know a little bit more, I was like, oh, I now know exactly what this person wants. And we can find it for him. So that's when it comes down to it. And it's situational. And this is where the repetitions come in, Ryan. So let's circle back to repetitions. We talk a lot about like building rapport and all this stuff. Like, it's easy. Well, it is easy. I gave you the method. The method is ask them about them. Ask them their story and shut up. And then ask them some more questions, right? But, you know, the timing of things, the timing, sensing situations, sensing energies, sensing when it's time to do something or to lay back, right? Getting to know what kind of personality style you're talking to before you stick your foot in your mouth and realize that you shouldn't have said that to that type of person. Guess what that comes with?
Repetition.
It comes with repetitions, Ryan. I wish there was an easier way than doing the reps, but this is what I have to impart in all the agents and everybody out there. Everything you see, the confidence I see in you, Ryan, and the confidence I see in Zach is not really confidence. It's repetition. Yeah. You understand? You only get confidence when you do something so much that it becomes almost second nature to you. But you can't take a shortcut there. And this is the hard part about success and wealth. It's just like, there's going to be times when you're like, dang, I've been doing this for 6 months and I just feel, and don't get me wrong, you tweak strategy, but the repetitions can never stop. You know, you got to learn from every rep, and then you apply what you learn to the next rep, and so on and so forth. You know what? Maybe by the 25th call, you're a master. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts, actually, guys, when I'm coaching agents. What'll happen is like, after they kind of get out of my program and, you know, they came in just totally scared, afraid of rejection, afraid of everything, saying they don't know anything. Hey, I'm going to the classes. I can't remember. I was like, relax, right? And then one day I'll walk by the office and I'll see them pacing. You know, that realtor pace, you know, that realtor pace on the phone with the client, and they're talking and they're, yeah, you know, I talked to the lender, you can get 90% LTV on that. Yep, you'll do that. And then, you know, here's what the process will go. And they're talking in such an educated way. And I'm like, they turned the corner. They've made enough, they've done enough reps where I can sense that no matter what gets thrown at them, they're going to be able to handle it. And that only comes with reps.
I love that. You know, early on when I first started with Home First, you know, one of our things was we needed to teach classes. And I was kind of stuck at creating a talk because I'm also a student of the game and I'm studying all of these people. But then I realized it's like, you know, like you said, it's like the art of doing, right? Like that repetition. If you're not really doing something, I could tell you 1,000 things, but if you're not doing it, then so like it took me a couple of months to create a talk, and then finally I created it. And what I included was role playing and actually doing videos on the spot. Like, let's get those reps in right now. I'm gonna help you do the reps right now. Let's get them out because that's what's gonna build you confidence. And I love that. Like, confidence is what shows down the road. You know, but you get the confidence in the reps.
Absolutely.
All right. So last question, Bobby D. This is my last question. I don't know if Zach has another question for you, but I like to talk to agents like yourself that been in the game and been through the hurdles and been on this marathon, right? One of the things that I'm really, you know, I coach for agents a lot too, in, even some of our LOs, unfortunately, is the keys in the follow-up, right? Like the money is always in the follow-up. And a lot of people struggle with this, not just agents, it's different industries. What is your advice to get better at following up? And what methods do you use to follow up?
Well, number one, we always, you have to have some faith in the game that the process works, right? Because this is really, real estate is this is why I love real estate so much. And like, real estate is really a way to play life, right? And if, I don't know how, I know you're a spiritual guy, Ryan, but here's the deal, no matter what you believe in, you gotta believe that success is a faith-driven sport, right? You have to believe something first. You have to visualize it first. You have to believe that it's for you first before you go out there. So real estate's the same way, right? You have to believe that if you follow the process, the money will come, because you're not going to get paid every 2 weeks. This ain't a get paid every 2 weeks type of game, right? So number one is you have to understand and learn from your mentors that, like, trust the process. It's going to work. Yes, I know it sounds crazy that you have to follow up with somebody 7 times at minimum before you get their attention, but this is the world we live in. We are one of a million StreamYard things happening right now that are grabbing people's attention. And I'm not cocky enough to believe that everybody's only watching ours, even though they should, right? Mm-hmm. But so that's the number one thing. And then if on a mechanics type of level, what we teach, number one, is you got to organize your list. Okay. So you can't remember everybody, like it's impossible, right? So I teach the agents right off the rip. Let's download everybody from your Gmail, your phone, go through your Facebook. This is tedious. This is repetition. This is tedious. This is not, you're not going to like working out at first, right? But if you can get them all organized in one place, then at least that could be your first CRM. It's just having them on a spreadsheet so that you're reminded every day. Like you can run through that list every single day and say, let me find a reason to connect with Michael. Let me find a reason to connect with Susan. Let me find a reason to connect and have it be something of value that I'm going to connect with them with. Not a pitch, but hey, what is important to that person? For instance, if you were dealing with somebody who was looking for a certain type of property, but told you the whole thing about, hey, I think I'm 6 months out. I think I'm 12 months out. But you know what? You might find a property that fits exactly what they say and say, hey, I was thinking about you. Take a look at this property. I know you're not ready yet, but I'm going to be showing homes on Saturday anyway. If you want to come out, why don't we just go see it? Like, don't worry about it. Let's just go see it. No pressure, things like that. So one, organize. And then the second thing, I think that CRM is a must, right? Fortunately with our company, you get KV Core as part of the game. And once again, you're going to want to use automation. You're going to want to use marketing campaigns. Zach and I use BombBomb a lot. That's our jam. So that's a CRM really in itself. So those are the things that you have to do in order to follow. But the first thing you have to realize is that follow-up really is the only way, because if you take somebody's word for it right now and say, oh, well, I'm not ready to buy right now. Well, yeah, but we know that they will be, right? Everybody's going to buy, sell, or invest in the next 5 to 7. And oftentimes life situations speed that up a lot, right? COVID sped a lot of people's things up, including myself, where I said, hey, if I'm going to spend time at home, I want to be happy. I want to be happy with my spot. Guess what? I wasn't even in the market to purchase. But something in life happened. Now, I'm obviously a realtor, but if there was a realtor following up with me that cared enough about me to give me value-add things, to check up on me every once in a while to see how things are going, they would have gotten that deal. But if you don't follow up, you're going to miss all of that.
Love it.
He's leading right into he's giving me literally the perfect material to lead into this. Bobby, at this point, I would normally say thank you, and Ryan and I will finish it out. But if you got somewhere to be, let me know. If not, I'm going to cover a topic that's literally right in line with this for about 15 minutes. Do you have somewhere to be? Would you like to stick around with us for another 15?
I got 5 more minutes.
All right, I'm gonna let you go then, because it's gonna go on a little bit of a rant around this whole thing. But Bobby, I appreciate you, man. I mean, I'm as you're talking, right, and as we're going through this, I'm saying, man, I need to do more personal development. Why don't I just rewatch all these amazing guests we've had, because there really are some great nuggets. And being a copycat is good as long as you're copying the right cat, right?
That's right.
I think that's one of Ryan's lines. I'm not sure whose lines it is, but You're definitely a good cat to copy, man. I hope people who are watching this implement some things. I definitely took a few awesome notes, and I just appreciate you taking your time with us today.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys. Always love hanging with you guys, and I'll see you soon.
All right, Bobby D, keep being a champ.
All right, brother.
Bye-bye. All right, man. So I'm excited. We got about 10 more minutes left, and I want to cover a concept, which is the buying pyramid. And it actually goes right along with what Bobby was just talking about. And Ryan, you've heard me give this talk. You've heard me coach about this before. And what I've been talking about these last couple of months as we're talking about conversion is fortune is in the follow-up, right? And the reality is that I'm going to say this, and I hope you're in agreement with me, is that we don't need more leads. We need more follow-up, right? And the reality is, so this is called the buying pyramid, right? And let me break this down for you. And I'm going to give you some real life examples and hopefully some things that you can implement into your business right away. So a part of the buying pyramid, right? You've got 3% of people which are buying now. So if you were to read the Ultimate Sales Machine, it basically states that all commerce, right? All industries are driven by 3% of people who are actually in the market to buy something, right? So let's talk about real estate, right? Right now, there's only 3% of people that need to buy a house, right? Like you just moved into a new place, Ryan, but you know, your lease is going to be up eventually. You have a choice whether you want to rent or buy. You know, people have, you know, they're going to have a child. They're going through a separation or divorce. There's so many reasons why people need to buy now. You know what I call the 3%ers?
What's
the
that?
low-hanging fruit.
Let's say that one more time.
All the 3%ers, the low-hanging fruit. And this market right now, this real estate market is so hot that if you just invest in the business, you have repetition, you have focus, you have consistency, you have all these things that we were just talking about, you're going to close a few deals per month, right? I'm sure you probably have some people in your network that just jumped into real estate recently because their friend was in real estate and they want to make a quick buck and they're focused on the short game, not the long game, right? So we got 3% of people that are buying now. That's easy stuff. Those are the people who, if you're buying Zillow leads or online getting leads, right? They're saying, I want to look at this property. You say, great. What time do you want to look at it? Oh, I want to look at it tomorrow at 5. You show them the property. You say, hey, get pre-approved. They get pre-approved. You write a contract, gets accepted. They close in 30 days, right? That's the easy stuff, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. So there's this sweet spot in our business that I want to talk about, which is the 7%ers that are open to it, okay? So before I jump into the 7%ers, let's look at the other 30% quadrant. So you got 30% of people that are just not thinking about it, right? Meaning, you could be driving down Colonial Drive, right? Where West Colonial, where all those car dealerships are and all those hoods are up and it says sale. And you got those blow up guys that are just waving their arms and you don't even remember driving by those car dealerships, right? You don't need a car. You're not buying a car. It's not necessary. Then you've got another 30% of people that don't think they're interested. They might glance at a mailer that comes in and just put it to the side or put it in a drawer and say they're going to get it back to another time. And then another 30% know they're not interested and they just ain't doing anything either. So let's go back and talk about what I call the 7%ers. So the 3%ers are the low-hanging fruit. The 7%ers is where you build true wealth in real estate right now. And these are the people that if, you know, they're not necessarily ready, willing, and able, but if you showed them that it was possible, they would do it. Okay, so let me ask you a question. You drive a Lexus, right, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
You drive a Lexus. So I used to drive a Lexus, and I remember about 3 months before my lease was up, I got this notice, I got this postcard in the mail, and they do this all the time. And I know it's the greatest marketing tactic ever. And they go, we need more 2017 GS 350s. We have so many. And as a courtesy, we're going to buy out your last 3 months, right? Or we need more. Come stop in so we could appraise your vehicle, right? So let's just say you go in there, and this is talking about the fortune is in the follow-up, right? You're over at Millennium Mall, you're with your girlfriend, you're having a good day, you're eating at Brio, you know, you're shopping a little bit, and you got to go to your friend's house for a party that night, right? So it's like around 4 o'clock, and you know you got to get home and change and shower and stuff, but the party's not till 7, so you're pulling out of the Millennium Mall, and you say, hey, babe, the Lexus dealership is across the street. Let's just pull in and take a look. You know, maybe they got something. So you pull and you take a look, and the guy says, "How can I help you?" You say, "Well, I got a notice in the mail. My lease is up for a couple months. You know, I don't really need, you know, a car right now, but I saw you guys had this. Like, what are the new vehicles looking like?" He's like, "Sure, let's go take a test drive. I'm gonna pull the new 2020 GS around for you." So you get in the car, you drive it. It's a great experience, and then your girlfriend or your wife, you know, she knocks you on the shoulder and she says, "Babe, you know what? I forgot, but I actually have a hair appointment. We gotta go. You know, if we're going to be at the party on time." And you're like, "All right, I'm just rushing out." So you leave. Then Sunday comes around, you're hanging out. It's not that important. Monday comes around, you're back to the work week, right? You don't need a car. So it's not top of mind for you, right? You have a car and nobody follows up. Does that salesperson make a sale with as busy as you are? I mean, do you really have time right now with your busy schedule to go back to Lexus and broker a deal?
No, not at all.
No, right? But let me ask you a question. You're a busy guy, Ryan. If that guy from Lexus shot you a quick text on Monday and said, "Hey, Ryan," and he discreetly took a picture of you driving the new car and says, "Hey, Ryan, I thought you would like this picture. You look real good in this car. I would love to put some numbers together for you." You know, people want to buy from people who are trying to sell them and constantly follow up. They almost feel obligated as long as they're not pushy or sleazy in doing that. Now, hang tight. I'm going to relate this back to real estate in a second for you, but I'm just trying to paint a picture and a story. When you say, "Hey," whatever his name, let's call his name is John. "Hey, John, I'm busy at work right now. Hit me up later." How many times do real estate and mortgage professionals, you know, or here, let me make it even a better scenario. That you say to John, you say, "Hey, John, you know, I'm real busy at work. Can I give you a call later?" John just takes your word for it that you're going to call later. He never goes back in his CRM. He never goes back in his calendar and says, "Call Ryan to follow up." How many people, so would you, if you're busy, you don't need a car, are you going to call John that you know he's just trying to sell you something? He's not trying to do you no favors. But if John puts in his calendar and messages you the next day and says, "Hey, Ryan, I know you're real busy. I didn't hear back from you. Hey, I talked to my manager and he said that I could drop the vehicle off and have you test drive it for a full day to see if you really like it. I'll bring your other car back, get it appraised, and I'll have that ready for you and let you know what the car is worth and what we could do on the new deal. I could have one of my guys drop it off for you in a couple hours. Would you be down for that?" Would you be like, "Sure, I could drive a brand new car for a day and check it out"? Would you do it? Now we can go,
that's 100%.
We can go through this whole cycle of follow-up, but I'm trying to paint the picture, the difference between the salesperson who actually follows up to bring people along the sales process. Because remember, I'm not talking about the low-hanging fruit that somebody's lease is up right now. They need another car. I'm talking about the people that if you showed them it was possible to buy a new car, they would. They don't need a new car, but they would. So let's transition into real estate, okay? How many people right now do not need a home, but if you showed them that it was possible to buy a new house, they would? Okay, so let's break down a scenario of an open house. I'm sure we have agents watching this that watch this that do open houses all the time. When people walk into typical open houses, what does your average real estate agent do, Ryan? What is their posture during those open houses?
You know, we're just reflecting back to the last one I did. You know, this big house, they have an island there, and they're just kind of like sitting behind the island in the kitchen, you know, just kind of hanging out.
Just hanging out, right? Go take a look around. You know, go take a look around. Let me know what you think. Hey, there's a sign-in sheet here. If you want to fill out some information, I would really appreciate it. All the client is really hearing is, "Oh, you want to spam me," right? So they're not asking any qualifying questions, and that's a whole zone in for another day. In fact, Bree, if you could put this on the screen, hflstarterkit.com. We've got the most amazing open house guide of all of the things that you should be doing pre, during, and post open house to make sure you have successful open house as well as successful follow-up on there. hflstarterkit.com. It's got some great material in there, and that's one of those items. So let's talk about the agent who basically follows up with somebody. So Monday comes along, right? Or even during the open house, they're asking better questions, right? Asking questions like, "Hey, so remember, they're talking to somebody that doesn't really need to buy. So like, hey, are you looking to buy a new house? Or, you know, do you just live in the neighborhood? You want to check it out?" And that person's like, "Oh yeah, I just live in the neighborhood. I'm right down the corner." And the agent is observant. Why are they observant? because they followed the open house guide and they knocked 10 houses to the right and 10 houses to the left to promote for the open house. And they knew which house you were talking about. And that house doesn't have a pool and it's a little bit smaller, and the house you're listing on the open house is renovated. And they go, so you live in the house in the corner, right? And they go, yeah, you know, we've always wanted a pool like this house, but, you know, we probably just can't afford it. And that agent says, well, you know, what kind of rate do you have on your house? And they say, I got a 5% rate. We bought back in 2018 when rates were a little bit higher. Well, did you know rates are in the 2% range right now? Even though this house is $50,000 more than what you could sell your house for, I bet you the payment is probably exactly the same. Right? Now you're taking somebody who is open to it, like I showed you on the graph, and you're putting them through. And they say, okay, you know, that's a great point. Let me talk to my wife. How many people are walking out of open houses, or let me talk to my spouse, walking out of open houses, and those real estate agents are never following up that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? So guys, to wrap up and summarize this, there are so many people out there that are ready, willing, able to purchase real estate that if you guys just took them through the sales process and showed them that was possible, just because somebody inquires on your Facebook, your Zillow, your realtor.com, your homes.com, whatever lead buy you're doing, or they make an inquiry with you the first time that they're interested in real estate, does not mean that the sale is secured. Those people get excited for the moment for whatever reason, and then what happens? Life kicks in. You have kids, you have a career, you have things that are going on. You don't need real estate right now. Those are the people that you build true wealth. That's how you go from being an average agent closing 1 to 2 deals a month up to an agent who's closing 5, 6, 7, 8. I guarantee if you study the producers who are doing 10 million plus per year, follow-up is one of the main things that they do in their business every single day. So yes, when Bobby said you do need to follow up with somebody 7 times, absolutely. You need to take people through these sales cycles. So focus on conversion. Your business will explode as a result. If you guys want to check out this book, again, go to online. It's called The Ultimate Sales Machine. It's life-changing for your business. Has so many principles and concepts that we didn't unpack today. But Ryan, you're an awesome co-host as always, man. There's a lot of great nuggets on here. We're going to be coming up with another Zoned In here soon. So watch out for us here in the next coming weeks for another episode. And Ryan, anything else you want to throw in before we sign off for the day?
Not at all. If you still are locked in or watch the replay and there's something real estate focused that you really want us to talk on, a guest that you really want to see that you know in the community, make sure you jot it down in the comment section. Other than that, Zach, as always, it's a pleasure being side by side with you, brother.
Thanks, Ryan. Everybody have an awesome day, and we'll see you again for another episode of Zoned In.